Bryan, end of first day, the 2017 FAA UAS Symposium. I guess this is the second time you've done it, but with AUVSI playing a huge role in this. By and large, how did they go?
Well, this is the first year that we've done it in this particular role, but this is the second time the symposium has occurred. Large increase in the number of people here, so clearly we've got a lot of familiar faces, but a lot of new faces as well. I think we have over 700 people that will come and go throughout the event, and literally the entire senior brass from the FAA was here today. So that was, for me, a very, very significant occurrence. You don't get that kind of FAA access, and it's not just the senior brass. There are over 70 people from the FAA here, so they're clearly extending outreach to the community, and we're happy to be helping with that.
Well, they're not only here, but they made themselves highly accessible, and I had quite a bit to say.
Yeah, they did. And, you know, when you hear it from people like Peggy Gilligan, who unfortunately for us is going to be retiring at the end of the month, but, you know, after a very, very distinguished career, but also people like Terry Bristol, who's in charge of the airspace system or the air traffic control system, Jim Eck from Next Gen and so forth. It's just an extraordinary collection of people that are thinking about this. They're thinking deeply about this and how it affects their particular areas and how they can help advance the cause.
I put Administrator Huerta a little bit on the spot when I interviewed him a little while ago because he said, well, everything we've done up till now, that was the easy stuff. What do you think of the hard stuff to come?
Well, in some ways he's right. Part 107 for me was the sound of the gun going off, and yeah, I mean, we have extended beyond visual line of sight. We have flight over people working. These things are all kind of in sequence. We have platforms above 55 pounds where there's a huge commercial opportunity. He's right. I mean, in some ways, I think, particularly for larger platforms, it fits in easier to the existing airspace. For platforms that are smaller but are going to be operating in more congested airspace autonomously, that's a lot of moving parts. So he's right, but as long as we work together as a community and we take a step-by-step approach, I think we're going to get there.
Were there any particular areas of discussion today that got your attention in particular?
Yes, the area of security, which the administrator talked about, no doubt that's behind his launching of the new ARC, which he announced today on identification. We've started to do a little pre-work with them. We sent out a request for white papers. We got over 50 responses, people just high-level white papers with very, very interesting ideas. So this is something that we've been talking about in the background for a little bit. And now we know that given the concerns that have been raised, particularly by the FBI, Department of Justice, inside of the Department of Justice, as he said, our warfighters and our allies overseas are already experiencing challenges with security. We have to move the identification and the tracking piece up in the priority list. So that, to me, is the piece that I'm paying a lot of attention to right now.
The panel spoke about authorizations and waivers. How would you grade the FAA's ability to handle what is obviously a pretty significant task?
Well, they're starting essentially from scratch since, call it the end of August, beginning of September when 107 was implemented. As Terry Bristol indicated, they're doing this by hand, right? Earl Lawrence has talked with our community a lot about automating that process. For some things, that'll be easier to do than for other things. But one way or the other, this is work that they have got to get our help with, which is part of the Remote Pilots Council that AUVSI has launched. We're talking about how to get those waivers done quickly, done in a way that allows for you to be responsive to your clients when you're out there flying. But there's clearly work to be done, and frankly, they need resources to be able to do it. To automate that process is going to require additional budget, which is one of the things that AUVSI will be working with Congress on the reauthorization on.
The issue of preemption, everybody's kind of pushing the FAA a little bit to at least step in where municipalities, states, and other organizations are asking for restrictions or regulations above and beyond what the FAA already requires. Is there a role for them to play in this, or is it too soon?
No, there's clearly a role to play, and the role to play, and interestingly, it's the same in the security arena, is to accelerate regulation, not to slow it down, right? In the dearth of regulation that we had before Part 107, there was a lot of municipalities and state governments jumping into that vacuum, and we don't want that. There's still a lot of that going on right now, but at the same time, particularly at the state level, you got people looking at this and saying, these are job-creating opportunities. This is going to create huge benefits for our community, particularly in search and rescue and things like that. I think the key is education. It's getting that word out there, making sure people know what the benefits of this technology are. And the key, too, for our community is we have to be safe and responsible about the way we fly. So it's hand in hand.
Well, we've been talking a lot about the FAA's role. Let's talk about AUVSI's. You are the preeminent organization addressing all things unmanned at this point, especially in regards to the commercial end of the industry. How do you see the role of the organization evolving, and what are going to be the hot button topics for the next year?
I think security is clearly one of the top issues that we're going to be working on. How do we identify the drones that are out there? Anonymous flying is going to be a challenge going forward, so we need to work with our partners on that and continue to educate people about the need to be good citizens and to communicate well in terms of what their intentions are with the technology. Our Remote Pilots Council is our way of getting that grassroots together, identifying the people that are out there flying under Part 107. What are they experiencing? How's that going for them? Making sure they're connected to each other and learning from one another. And then we're identifying whatever those gaps are between what's going on at the local level and what's going on at the federal regulatory level. So those are the kinds of things that we're working on. We're also looking at how to give members of our community and the AUVSI members that have counter-UAS solutions a little bit more visibility, how to get them connected to the people who are interested in those solutions. So I think, as with last year and the year before that, it's an ambitious agenda, and happily we've got really, really sophisticated and dedicated members that are going to help us get those things moving forward.
And finally, what technologies are particularly enticing to you right now? You get to see the best and brightest of everything. What's caught your attention?
Well, Intel caught my attention when they acquired Mobileye, and when Brian Krzanich, who is going to be our keynote speaker on Tuesday, the first day of Exponential, was on TV that day. I saw him on CNBC. He said this isn't just about automated vehicles. It's about automated vehicles, but it's also about drones. It's about things unmanned. AUVSI's new watchword is all things unmanned. So that really got my attention. Of course, it's not just Intel. You've got NVIDIA out there. You've got Qualcomm. These are really, really important enabling technologies. And those are the kinds of things that I think we as AUVSI pay attention to the most. What are the technologies that scale across domains? And then how do we make sure that what we're learning in one domain benefits us in another domain? That's where we're going to scale faster.
Brian, we sure appreciate your time. We look forward to seeing you in Dallas in May, and more important than anything else, keep it up. This industry is reshaping a world, and you're riding the wave. It's got to be an interesting place to be.
It shouldn't be legal to be having this much fun.
Good deal. Thank you, sir.
Aero-TV is brought to you by,
in collaboration with NASC, introducing Sonix Aerospace, bringing you the Taros Group 4 UAS, the redesigned Tiger Shark Block 4, and the Subsonics Twin Jet UAS, all derived from flight-proven manned systems, not concepts, real aircraft. More at sonixaerospace.com.